You see the politicians and the different political parties, those ones who have been able to show you tonight, the Labour Party, the PDP, the APC, they've gone round. Interestingly, the three major political parties we showed you tonight were in the Southeast region. The one was in Imo, the other one was in Anambra, and the PDP was in Enugu State. All of them campaigning and canvassing for votes across the country. But one thing is very paramount. There are 17 states in the southern region of the country. There are 19 states in the northern region of the country. Sometimes they say where the north go, politically speaking, the nation goes, because if you look at the voting figures, the north seems to have more. They have more states. They have more votes. Usually, when you see the disparity in the kind of candidates and where they emerge from, there seems to be a lot to determine who becomes president. For the first time in a long time, it's difficult to determine who the next president will be. You've been hearing from Afenifere, Pandev, and the different ethnic groups on their decision and where they are going tonight. Let's hear from the Northern Elders Forum. I'm being joined by the spokesperson of the Northern Elders Forum, Dr. Akim Baba Ahmed. He joins me live here in our election studio. Thank you so much, and it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too, and thank you for inviting me to your beautiful brand new studio.
Thank you so much. I tell people that it's more beautiful to the eyes than even what the cameras can pick. These cameras are not doing the very good job of what the eyes can see. Thank you so much, Dr. Akim Baba Ahmed, for joining us tonight. Where does the Northern Elders Forum stand at this hour?
We stand where the northern people stand. We are looking very critically at all the candidates, 3 or 4 of them. We're still in the process of assessing who we think deserves the support of the North. People are looking up to us, a lot of them, for guidance, for advice, and we're assuming we are taking this very seriously. We don't want to rush. We haven't endorsed anybody. We haven't said this is where the North will go. We don't need to be pushed or stampeded. We're comfortable where we are. Let the candidates continue to canvass and ask for our votes. We are looking more critically than the rest of Nigeria. And we need to do this because we have a huge responsibility. As you said in your intro, the North has a huge number of votes. And substantially, they will go to where groups like ours advise people to go. So it's not a small responsibility.
How potent is still the voice of the Northern Elders Forum? Are you still able to swing things? Do the people still listen to you, politically speaking, on the way to vote?
If I tell you that, the answer, would you believe me, or would you believe Nasiru?
I know you do. You're a very good friend.
Because I know, he's my younger brother, actually. People listen to us. We've never let them down. We've never assumed a position that was inconsistent with Northern interests, ever. This time last year, remember, we stood firm and said the rest 17 state governors who were pointing fingers and shouting at us and saying, no Northerner should stand for elections. If he does, nobody should vote for him. We were the only group that stood up and said, no, you can't do that. We will produce a candidate if political parties choose to field the candidate. As we speak, 5 out of the 18 candidates are Northerners. We have defended Northern interests, and people know. They know we do it with the responsibility. When you say elders, it means a lot. You don't give your name yourself the title. What you do, how you do it, and consistently people measure you. That's what elders are. So people listen to us. You ask me if people listen to us. We know they listen to us. Not all of them. Not all of them.
You know the reason why I'm asking?
No.
There is a polarity, and there is now a diffused political beliefs and sense of independence of the Nigerian people recently. If you look at it, people seem to have that sense of independence on their mind to choose whoever. And we've seen that people have also despised the voices of those who have called the voice of reason, and
Sure.
I mean, which said we are going here, but in recent time you've seen that that has not held sway, and that's the reason why I'm asking that question, whether or not the metropolitan nature of how most of our cities are right now is reflective of the political intrigues or the scenario playing out in the northern region of the country.
There's no way you can get unanimity across everywhere. There's always going to be plurality. People, well, you're bound to find groups and individuals and communities who say, no, this is not the way we go. And we're very proud of that in the North. We've never really, the nearest we came to being almost unanimous was in 2015. Otherwise, we voted for different candidates for different parties, for Southerners as well. Intense competition between Northerners and Southerners, and we voted for Southerners, and they became presidents. So we are aware of that. It's not a bad thing. I'm not sure that demography and geography have entirely changed the way people think. Northerners are not sheep. I can speak for Northerners. They are not sheep. They are not the kind of people that you say, go in that direction, and they go. And yet, still, people judge their politics on the basis of their experiences. And in the last 8 to 10 years, we've had a lot of experiences that have bound us together, maybe tighter than we've ever been. We've had insecurity. We know who's caused. We know what we've suffered. Every inch of the North is unsafe. Our economy has crumbled. Our infrastructure has crumbled. This decade hasn't been good for the North. And what it did is, and maybe for good for the North, is that it has created a stronger political bond of the people.
Is the Northern, I mean, we've perhaps not gotten your position in the Northern Elders Forum as to the debate on where power should rotate to, and whether or not the Northern Elders see the way some PDP chieftains see the rotation of things. Perhaps the school of thought that power, as far as some PDP chieftains are concerned, is not in the north, the presidency. That the last time they left it off in their party was in the south. Is that the way the Northern Elders Forum see the equation?
No, not at all. Our position has always been consistent. This rotation thing is a PDP gimmick, which they never respected. The power belongs to where voters decide it goes to. And it goes to those, the candidate who gets the most votes. And that is as simple as that. We have votes in the North. We have candidates. So you can't use a region now entirely and say this is where it is and therefore this is where it must go. We've noticed that in some parts of the southern part of the country, people are still harping on this thing. It must come to the south. It must come to the south. And we thought the language about must come, we're over with it. It's you don't win election by just saying it must be happening.
If they are not said must, would you have reasoned with those who wanted power to go to the south?
Joe, listen. This nation needs a leader who can hold this country, unite it and resecure it. It's not their language. We're looking at the value of the people. We're looking at the caliber of people who are asking us for trust. We're not looking at language, and we're not impressed, and we're not intimidated. We will not vote for anybody just simply because people use the kind of language that creates panic and fear. It must be our candidate, it must be. All that does is that it demarcates the candidate. It doesn't do candidates any good. For him to have people using language and body language and shouting and demanding and insisting that we've gone past that. Whether it goes north or south is academic. It goes to where the votes are. And the politicians know this. They are miles ahead of everybody. That's why they are going all over the country asking for votes. They know it's not a southern thing. They know it's not a northern thing. It's a voters thing.
Well, I mean, what about the core of our constitution that talks about the major values of the issues of spread, of issues of togetherness, of issues of fairness? So the question is, where then lies the reasoning of fairness if a Fulani President Buhari would have spent 8 years, and those who are clamoring for power to shift to the south think that it's just only fair for the power to return to the south? I mean, does that come as fairness to say, after a President Buhari's 8 years, it's just only fair? Does that come as fair, or is still academic from your point of view?
There are many starting points. Fairness, if you use the concept of fairness, you must first go back to the Constitution. We all have to subscribe to the Constitution. And then there are other values you can add on to the Constitution. The Constitution says whoever becomes president should have secured 25% of the votes in 24% of the states. For a country like Nigeria, that's a fantastic design. It creates a presidency which would have benefited from votes from all over the country.
But even at that, if you look at the political map, Doc, it's always as being that we've had a Goodluck Jonathan that won in mostly South. And we had a Buhari in 2015 that won mostly northern region of the country. Well, the Constitution has savaged the situation because we would have had a president who emerged in only a few states based on larger number of votes. That makes a lot of sense. But even at that, we still see the political map sharply divided by ethnic or regional lines.
And that's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. It shouldn't be. It's certainly not at this time. When we're looking for someone who would go the other direction.
A pan-candidate, a pan-Nigerian candidate.
A Nigerian who would not have the stamp of ethnicity or regionalism or faith.
Can we still have that in 2023?
I think that's why we haven't said anything. People keep asking, why are you quiet? Why hasn't INEC identified a candidate? And the reason is simple. We supported a candidate in 2015. No, it wasn't based on faith or where he came from, but we thought he was a good man and he was going to fix this country. He didn't. He let it down. Now we said, okay, fine. We paid a huge price for Buhari, the North, and the whole country, but especially the North. So we decided this time we are going to look for better quality. And this time we're going to be more critical. We're going to scrutinize candidates more. If all they have, unfortunately for them, they have very boisterous, very noisy ethnic champions who says, you must take our candidate or the consequences, or you pay for the consequences. We're not impressed. If you bring religion and say, I have a faith issue in my candidate, we're not impressed. The North is Christian and Muslim. And you can't impress us with faith. And you cannot intimidate us by saying, if you don't take our candidate, then the country will finish. Like we've seen Ayo Adebanjo say. We're not impressed by that kind of thing. Nigeria is just too much for one individual, no one candidate. So people use concepts like fairness and equity, peace, and justice. You can use equity. If the foundations of equity, you are a student of law. You know what equity is. Equity is founded in what the Constitution says. You have to start from the Constitution. Now, politically, if you want someone to vote for your candidate, you go out and convince people, listen, he doesn't come from where you come from. He comes from where we come from, but he's the best. Look at his qualities. Look at what he has done before. Look at what he would do. That's how you convince people. But you cannot get a candidate elected if all you do is to threaten and to shout and then to go around saying, you must elect him because he's from this language, or he speaks this language, you must elect him because he speaks... We are not impressed. The most heterogeneous place in Nigeria is the North. We are grown up, we grow up with heterogeneity in our blood.
Doc, let me take you to the umpire in this race. That's another terrain that you're very familiar with. I guess you are an executive secretary?
Secretary.
You're a secretary with INEC at some point. With the preparations so far, are you impressed?
Yes. So far, we think they have done a great job. They need support, they need encouragement, and they need Nigerians to believe in them. And I will tell you why. The only way in which we can be sure we can transit to a new administration in this country, with all the quarrels that you see, is that INEC delivers a credible election where there is no argument over who wins. There are too many people trying to say the only way my candidate will lose is if he's rigged out. Those voices must be drowned. And the only way you drown them is by raising the quality of work that INEC does. And this is why patriotic Nigerians should support them. If you have questions about their technology, their processes, their system, ask them. INEC should answer them. But at this stage, we believe in INEC. We believe what they've done is good. We believe they need more support. And we need, but more importantly, we need those who have responsibility to secure the electoral environment to do so. You must allow Nigerians all over the place, wherever they are.
How would you gauge the level of trust in INEC as an umpire from the people's point of view?
Well, I can only tell you that where I come from and the people we talk to, we haven't found any basis for doubting the credibility or the competence of INEC to compete, to conduct an election. We haven't. In the North, we haven't seen evidence that they will compromise, they're partisan, they are favoring anybody. They've done well. There's been massive improvement in their systems, in their processes. And I believe in the integrity of the leadership of INEC. I believe given the chance, they will deliver a credible election, and Nigerians should support them. Undermining INEC is very dangerous. People who say things like, we don't like the Avivas, and you have no basis for that. You're casting doubts on the integrity of INEC and planting the seeds of doubting the outcome of a credible election if they conduct one. That's very dangerous. You must never do this. If you have a basis for saying the election might be rigged, please give us the reason. But you hear below the noise of the rallies and the rhetorics of politicians a very worrying thing, where people say things like, the only way a candidate will lose is to be rigged out.
Let's take a breather, Dr. Mohammed, and when we come back, there's so much more to talk about. I'd like to get your view on the CBN Naira swap situation and perhaps the best way we could have handled the situation. We take a break, everyone, and when we come back, my conversation with Dr. Akim Baba Ahmed continues. He's the spokesperson of the Northern Elders Forum. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Dr. Akim Baba Ahmed is a spokesperson of the Northern Elders Forum. He's been speaking with us right now on the 2023 verdict. Thank you so much indeed. There are a lot of people who are undecided with just about 10 days to the election. If there's one thing that Nigerians need to decide or to look to in making that decision of who becomes Nigeria's next president, there are a lot of burden that the next president will have to bear trying to hit the ground running and fixing those problems. What would you say tonight that could help those who have not made up their minds on who to vote for, that could help them make their minds easily tonight?
I would say to them, look for the candidate that hasn't been made an ethnic or a religious property already. That's not what Nigeria needs. I would say look for the candidate that looks like he has the physical and mental capacity to be able to be president of the country. I would say look for someone who shows evidence of being honest, because we need a leader with integrity. But if you're not too sure about all these things, vote for the person that you think understands you as a citizen. What's your problem? What worries you? And from the little that you know, who looks like he understands what the Nigerian citizen today needs? Any citizen, from the southeast to the northwest to wherever. Because it's the citizen that is at the heart of our democratic process. What does the citizen want? He wants security. He wants certainty that he will get a job or a means of living. He wants his child to go to a good school. He wants a future for his child. Who's that leader? But if you don't know who to vote for, then you should know who not to vote for. And who not to vote for is a candidate who's being sold to you because he has his people say you should vote for him, and because they like him, and you must like him. That's a candidate you should avoid. You should also avoid a candidate that appears to be just wanting to be president because he or she has a lot of money, and they're there.
There are a plethora of problems, and it's not going to be an easy job for the next president. What do you think that the next president of Nigeria needs to be looking forward to fixing on the first day on the job?
Good people. Good, solid, knowledgeable, experienced Nigerians who are not going to be ministers and chief special advisors and his little cycle. People who just want to make money. People with ideas. People with clout. The kind of people who can walk up to him and say, Mr. President, you need to do this. People who know, who understand Nigeria. That's his strength. So the people he picks are going to be his strength. Because most of the front runners now, okay, let's be plain. Buhari and Atiku and Jonathan and Tinubu are aging. Even at their best, they can't do everything that they want to do. They need excellent set of people around them. Ideas people, go-ahead people, people who know how to fix problems. That's the most important thing. The second thing is find people with integrity. People who will not convert public money into theirs. So they should be good, competent people of ideas, and people who have evidence that they fear God and they will not steal money. That's what you're looking for.
I know we're not in short supply of that, but it's just the ability to be able to identify them. But on a final note, this is where I want us to anchor. The central bank policy. The Supreme Court will be sitting tomorrow and looking at there is an existing ex parte order by the Apex Court, and the parties will be appearing before the court tomorrow to listen to the meat of the matter. How did we get here? And perhaps, how best do you think that we can resolve this problem? It does look like there is some political undertone in it.
How did we get here? We got here because President Buhari has messed up all right up to the point where he's going to go. To have allowed this kind of fiasco to exist on the eve of an election when you are actually campaigning to have your own party voted for. This money thing is a major demarketing strategy for the APC. If the worst enemy of APC had designed a strategy for them to lose this election, he couldn't have chosen a better strategy than this fiasco around the reprinting of the
Could
naira.
it be a coincidence?
I don't know. Their own people say it's all contrived to make Tinubu lose. Their own people. The governors who said this is designed to make the candidate lose. The candidate himself says it is designed to make him lose. President Buhari is following him around saying vote for him. At the same time, he's letting where we come from in the northern part of the country, everything that people do that costs less than, say, 5,000 naira. The woman who cooks breakfast that says she sells to laborers in the morning for 200 naira, 300 naira. People who have to buy food for their families for 1,000, 2,000 naira. This just is money. People are starving. That is the honest truth. Literally in 3 or 4 weeks, you've destroyed the informal sector of the economy in one fell swoop because there's no money, there's no cash. Literally, there's a lot of anger. And to see a situation where the president just either appears unwilling or incapable of reining in MFLA and saying, hey, listen, perhaps we can, there are options. You can allow the old Naira and the new Naira to coexist for the next 6 months.
That's the advice from the Security Council.
Yeah, but no, nobody advises. President Buhari apparently doesn't listen to anybody. And MFLA says, I will do what I feel I should do because I've got the president's got my back. And Nigerians are saying, we really actually know. The governor of CBN is not the guy who is doing all these difficult things to us. It's the president. If the president doesn't want all this suffering and all these things, and considering the other options, the governor of CBN wouldn't get away with the things he's getting away from.
All right. Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, it's always a pleasure having you around. Thank you so much indeed for coming. Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed is the spokesperson of the Northern Elders Forum. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.